It's Yojo June, everybody. Welcome to GI Joburg episode 182. We're going to call it Tanks for the Memories. Hey. My name is Steve. I'm joined by two other South African lifelong friends of mine. One of them's name is Rob.
Hey, it's me. I'm coming up first today.
I'm
This is a
switching it up.
rare privilege.
I caught you with a mouthful of what are you eating, Rob? I gotta know.
I'm just eating oatmeal. It's
Because
delicious.
it's 12 noon in the dark continent. It's 8
Of
p.m.
course,
in the
breakfast.
far-flung future. Yeah, exactly. Rob's just crawled out of bed. I have designs on getting into bed. But
Whoa.
we have a weirdo who lives in strange times of day. His name's Paul, so he's probably fresh as the daisies. Hello, Paul.
I'm super fresh right now. What's up, guys?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
I've been up since freaking 7 this morning for God knows what reason.
Yo.
Yeah, I don't know. I wake up early on weekends. It's weird.
Shame,
That
dude.
is very strange. You're like the opposite of people who work like 9 to 5s.
Yeah, well, it's like I got to take the kids on Saturdays for Kung Fu, usually on Saturdays. So I kind of have this habit to wake up at 6 on a Saturday. And then,
Ah.
yeah, and then
And then
we
you're
did
just like, let's just push through.
Yeah, that's
I'll do
pretty
it again
much it.
Sunday.
I just play games or play with toys or something cool, you know.
Hell yeah, dude.
Toys on the weekend, outstanding. That is my favorite kind of weekend. It is pure
Whoa.
indulgence zone if you are able to actually handle some plastic. Like that's a lofty goal right there. That is winning at life for an action figure collector slash player.
Agreed.
Well, we're
Agreed.
certainly entered the indulgence zone now. I mean, Yojo, Dune. It seems like we're slowly getting new announcements and stuff. Still no comic news though. Toy news though. I think
Ah.
wasn't there? Wasn't there toy
Well,
Fly
news?
yes, Rob.
pod.
Is there anything you guys want to sink your teeth into? Like, GI Joburg has kind of moved away from being a news podcast. We used to go over every single classified forthcoming attraction in great detail, talk
Oh,
about the
for sure.
digital renders and all that shit. And now I've kind of gone off it because there are more immediate, more consistently released avenues for that kind of information.
Oh, for
Yeah.
Some of
sure.
them
People
good,
can
some of
get the
them
up to date news.
assholes.
I like. I do like having an opinion on some of those things.
Oh, for sure.
And the one thing I definitely want to share an opinion on is how amazing the Trouble Bubble is looking, or the Flight Pod. I think
Whoa,
that's
it's
very
not
exciting
even
to
a
me.
HasLab. Wow.
I know, right?
Happy
It's
days. You can
shocking.
actually just buy it on a shop
And
at Target.
and I'm giving Scrap Iron the old sideward glance on Big Bad Toy Store. I'm working out if I should pre-order it or not, because it's a really, really cool toy, but there are other GI Joe concerns in the next few months. And then also I had to have a good chuckle about Grunt, the classified Grunt, and I'm sure you guys know why.
Mm,
If it's not
enlighten
He
me.
doesn't have the flat top hair like
if
he
it's
does from
not
the 90s. It's very
if
upsetting, and
it's
the expression is not shouting. He's
okay,
useless.
well, he's not
Grunt.
shouting. That's not what I'm getting
Not
at.
Grunt. Oh,
I don't know if you guys remember this, but Grunt, or if you know the image, and for our listeners, I'm sure you know where I'm getting at with this, but he comes with a Steel Brigade helmet.
Yeah.
yes, he does.
So I had to
Isn't
chuckle
that
at that
fascinating? He comes with
because
2 guns, which I found it. I don't know. I found that a bit weird. He comes with okay, M16, and he comes with like a laser rifle too. To me, that kind of
I-
feels like it. I like accessories that the characters can use simultaneously or have all at once.
so Grunt can't walk around with two machine guns.
No, I don't think he can. I think that's kind of like,
It's a concession for classified collectors to play it both ways. You know, there's this growing urge to address people who eschew the kind of the realism of classified and want sailors with bell-bottom pants and, you know, black powder pistols, percussion pistols, and the classic ubiquitous sunbow laser rifle. So like you can play your grunt in 2 ways.
So yeah, so I just I
well,
think
I
the
suppose you can
concept.
have like a new age one and an old age one. It
Exactly.
makes sense.
Old age one, just like the classic figures themselves.
I mean, conceptually, I think it's very cool that they've given him a Steel Brigade helmet.
It's
Like,
fascinating.
yeah, because I mean, if you don't necessarily have a particular fondness for Grant, then at least you've got an army builder, which already puts kind of a red flag on the figure. Now everybody's going to buy them to make Steel Brigade. Steel Brigade
Well,
is
because his
You on the
uniform's pretty plain,
names?
isn't it?
Steel Core. Steel Core. Is it Steel Core?
still.
Core.
I
don't
I
think
don't
they
know
can
what
say
stupid
Steel
name they've
Brigade,
given it
can
now,
they?
but I'm just glad they didn't mess with Tiger Force too much. But
Metal Men.
yeah, so that's exciting, and I see that guys are getting their hands on like Shipwreck and whatever's early, which is cool. I'm
Have
very
you-
excited for Shipwreck and Torpedo personally. I think they're going to
Of
be outstanding
course.
toys. I just
course you
recently
like them.
received. I mean, I know this is like new shit section,
Old news.
and but it's not really new shit section, but it is a cool thing to mention. I got a very nice classified figure in the mail this week from Mr. Ryan.
Hmm.
Yes, and I'm very excited. I've been shooting some footage here and there where I can, and just want to roll out the other 2 reviews I've got before I get excited. But yeah, that's
Well, one last figure thing I saw, or
Mhm.
kind of 2, I suppose. The Higher Toys Storm Shadow comes with like a tattooed arm.
Yeah.
And I
Oh.
don't understand the reference because they're saying in the description like like the original concept art of Storm Shadow. What is that
It's
from?
a very strange time we live in, guys, because obviously Hire is taking the initial classified designs and running downhill with them as like the optimized. I mean, the term that Chris from Full Force throws around is evergreen. Like those were the style sheets for the classified series at its outset. And that's obviously the design work that Hire Toys took on board as like, this is G.I. Joe.
Or were
It says to me
commissioned
that,
with, yeah.
obviously they do not have the history with the brand to
Yeah,
know
they
Well,
have
that
no
this is
idea
a
what the hell's going on.
very because obviously if Storm Shadow's arm is completely sleeved up like that, all of a sudden the importance and the kind of the striking nature of the Arashikage tattoo is lost. Like that is the defining tattoo that should be on Storm Shadow's arm. In fact, I'm
Yeah.
going to argue that it should be the only tattoo on Storm Shadow's arm.
Yeah, because
He's not
Yakuza.
an ink
He's
kind
not
of guy.
Yakuza. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just that symbol is of vital importance to everyone from his clan.
But interesting, you mentioned the design philosophy or origins. I was looking at the Snake Eyes, and also apparently his design is actually based off, or at least from what I can see and comparisons I've made, is from that stupid video game that came out on the Xbox.
Yes.
Sure.
So his design is actually very close to his look from that video game.
Which in turn were the designs that the classified
that's
series
fine,
was
classified.
starting off with. That Storm
Okay.
Shadow was never produced, however, because they
Ah.
quickly course corrected when the writing was on the wall that the game wasn't very good, and classic GI Joe fans who were buying up classifieds left, right, and center weren't terribly fond of the new design elements. You know, the little like matrix of leadership, communication doohickeys, and the gold armor portions, and all the kind of like the blue glowing, I don't know, color touches.
Glowing things.
Yeah, there's just sort of the gaps between the armor portions have this kind of, I don't know, technological glow to it, picked out in light blue. All that stuff is now been kind of course corrected away from. But that leaves Higher Toys with, as I say, this kind of rather dated style sheet, and they are going for it, man. They're going to make sure that all those Operation Blackout designs see light of day, and we see it with Beachhead as well. That is a very like early classified inspired Beachhead with the poofy beret and the very like almost real but not quite real green gun.
Well, I still think it probably has its place, and I think for some reason it's less offensive at 3 3/4 and 4 inch scale.
I agree.
Enough.
I think it pushes just north of 4 inches.
4 inch, yeah. So I think it's less offensive at
Joy
that
Toy
scale. Weirdly enough, because we have so many other versions of the characters, I feel like it's kind of cool to have another version.
And not to mention the fact that like 4-inch modern is dead. I mean, the third party GI Joe manufacturers are making O-rings, other than Marauders Inc. But as far as Hasbro is concerned, like the 4-inch ended with, I don't know, the blue hiss and the Ore Striker.
Yeah, that whole thing. What I want to add to that is the 4-inch toys are picking up popularity in Asia because
It never ended. Acid
yeah,
Rain?
well, to be fair, but it grew. I mean, there's Acid Rain, there's Joy Toy, Higher Toys is doing this line, and the reason I know that it's popular in Asia now is because Bandai has done a 4-inch line of Gundam figures actually.
The
Yeah,
human characters, not the
human
mecha.
characters. Yeah, soldiers, Shah, Amuro, Frau. They've done some vehicles. They're very, very cool actually, and they all
That
come with
sounds
like
awesome.
shareable accessories. So you buy, so if you buy like all of them, they've all got great accessories that all work together. So it's just a pity about the price. They're a bit expensive, a little overpriced if you ask me, but that's how I know it's that kind of thing is picking up popularity in Asia. So that's interesting.
Weird paying more for a smaller figure.
It is weird paying more.
Pendulum has
figure.
swung the other way. Like 3 3/4 inch used to be the entry level action figure, the cheap one. And then
Yeah.
you get the bigger ones with more accessories and more paint apps. Now it's the other way around.
Now you're paying a
these are also
premium for less.
they are premium. They're licensed, and not in the case of Bandai, they own Gundam, don't they? But like,
Yes.
yeah, these things are beautiful, and the engineering has to be top notch because the plastic tolerances are that much thinner and smaller, and everything's shrunk down.
And then speaking of premium, a new Firefly was announced by I keep calling them it's Mezco before I call it Mezco.
Keep calling it Mezco.
I would like to have that Destro in hand first before I make any future decisions on a Mezco figure. But the Firefly looks outstanding. It's got all of the things that I liked about the Sideshow, and that got me excited about the Sideshow figure. And owning the Sideshow figure means that my excitement to own the Mezco one is pretty much non-existent. But yeah, it looks good. I mean, it's a good looking toy. It's an interesting looking toy. It's got some cool features and little things to play with and whatever's. But yeah, that was announced kind of covertly, just slid into people's toy
As
windows.
it should be with Firefly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Read his file card, man. In and out without anyone noticing.
Exactly. And I mean, it doesn't even photograph. So there's some cool stuff coming, I mean, toys-wise, to get excited about. But
well, I'm hoping for a lot more news this month, especially comic related. Like I really want to know where this thing is going so I can avoid reading it. So.
You troll. Well, let me put this out into the ether, into the public consciousness. What if the deal went south?
Oh gosh.
They've paid Larry for the issues that he's scripted so far, or done the plots of, and paid the artists, of course. But maybe it fell through the cracks somehow. It sort of stalled before the ink had dried.
Shelved it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe the new publisher thought, actually, you know what? GI Joe's numbers are not looking so great. Yeah. They're moving a lot of plastic in the classified series, but that doesn't necessarily trickle down to massive comic book sales. I mean, GI Joe was never a massive concern when IDW had it.
Yeah, it kind of had its heyday when Marvel had it. When when it was absolutely huge, outselling even Spider-Man in the 80s.
Those lofty days are not going to be repeated, but like its numbers were even low for any published comic book, I believe. I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but like I say it ain't so, Steve. Say it ain't so, but like something tells me maybe this delay is being caused by business-related reasons. I say that from absolutely no insider information, but it's just like something
it's a gut feeling.
We would have heard something by now.
Is tingling. Yeah, I'd like to think so too.
I have a different theory. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're still going to get a comic book. And I think the reason they've gone completely dead on it is for us to have these conversations. Or should I say, there's that little Easter egg at the end of the Transformers movie. And I think that's changing the game. And because they've got a blank slate now with regards to the comic book and everything, I think I think I've got this funny feeling that Larry Hama might actually be announcing that he's doing a screenplay. I've got that feeling in me. I don't know why I have that. There's no evidence to support it. I just feel like that's maybe what they're going to do. Like maybe Hasbro's decided, or Paramount, or whoever the frag is going to be doing that movie, has decided, maybe we should get the guy who actually wrote GI Joe to write the GI Joe movie. Maybe that's the thing that we've been making the mistake with this whole time.
Well, do you know who's
I
scripting the forthcoming GI Joe AAA video game?
don't. Is it going to
Brandon
be Larry
Joe.
Hama? Oh, cool.
And
Great.
Joe, I have to say that the name drop gets me excited because, like, I don't know if there's a better positioned, like, strictly GI Joe scribe than him.
But he did a lot of Devil's Due, didn't he?
He did. He did
Yeah.
the later stuff before the license then kind of transferred again. And I mean, he is a GI Joe scribe himself. Like he comes from a place of tremendous enthusiasm for the brand. He is a fan first and a very capable writer. Also first, but like they're
Yeah, I know what
vying
you
for
mean. They're
position.
like,
Yeah. So I mean, I love Larry. His work is indelible, but is he the right man for a going concern? I think someone with a better overview of perhaps all the disparate cogs of GI Joe. Like Larry's very cagey about the fact that like his Joe is what appears in the comic books that he's penned. He doesn't take cognizance of anything else. To his strength, maybe, but also to his detriment. There are fantastic elements that are equally, if not more recognizably GI Joe existing in the cartoon. I mean, the cartoon is most people's touchstones with these characters.
No,
it
that's
just
true.
had that more wide-reaching appeal. There might even be laudable elements. Like, what was so cool is like the creative director on the video game was plucking various plot elements, and Brandon was very flattered by the fact that some of them actually came from him, from
Nice.
his run on the comic book. He was like, okay, I'm very flattered, but did you know that I wrote this arc? So that's cool. And that information comes courtesy of an interview that he did. You can catch the full interview. I think there's a histank.com article, but failing that, don't worry. Boy McLeod at Full Force has got you covered. He would have done a news burst on it.
And that's great. Well, then that's because then that does sort of feed like my harebrained, very little evidence theory of where it could be going. That they could be rebooting
Some
this whole
writer
thing
from
from the
GI
ground.
Joe.
So
He's gonna be writing
because
the
that makes
script.
sense. I mean, think about Transformers for 2 seconds before the movie
If I
came out.
must.
Yes, you must think about it. But
Before
with
the
Transformers,
Bayverse.
before the Bayverse happened, Transformers was pretty much dead.
Baymageddon.
There was like the Armada cartoon or animated series that was out, sort of, and there was not a lot happening with that brand. And then all of a sudden, this they built up this whole Transformers film, and then the rest is history. I mean, they sold a lot of plastic, and now pretty much most kids know who Optimus Prime is, and actually more of them know who Bumblebee is. So maybe that's because they had a nice blank slate to work with. And at that, with GI Joe, they didn't really have the blank slate because Devil's Due was kind of running around the same time as the Stephen Summers film, and I think it was Devil's Due. Or Devil's Due had just ended, and IDW had started a run, and they were going for it for a little bit, and there was foundation there. So maybe this is what the brand needs. Maybe it needs like a complete reboot from the ground up. Maybe if it has robot monkeys in it, then so be it. Robot gorillas, so be it. But if it brings the brand back to life, cool. And there's a video on YouTube.
Robot gorillas a lot more than I can tolerate, like bloody Optimus Prime with flame decals and like LED running lights underneath him. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
like the Optimus Primal design at least has design ethos that kind of comes somewhere between the cartoon and where the Bayverse aesthetic sits.
Yeah, I can get with that. I mean, I still feel like the best cinematic representation of Transformers was the Bumblebee movie, and that's and even more so that the few minutes of Cybertron we saw was like my favorite Transformers movie in live action.
I've heard this before.
You may have heard me say this before, but yeah, let's see how that goes. Let's see what happens. I'm curious to see where they take it, because you know that the Transformers movie line has failed, or at least for me it has failed, when the only reason I watch them is to see Anthony Hopkins and Malkovich having an absolute fucking piss take, in these films, because that's the entertaining thing for me. It's like, I keep watching these two very seasoned actors in these movies, and I can
Getting a
just see
fabulous paycheck, let me assure you.
yes, yeah, no, they totally did, and it's just such a piss take, and I'm like, this is it, this is great, it's great watching these two gentlemen. It's like they're in the multiverse. They've ended up in this movie, and they were like, "Oh well, we're actors. We might as well act and do our shit here." I don't even know what my character's motivations are. Fuck this! I'm making my own character. Let's go. That's been the most fun for me in the most recent Transformers film. So, yeah. Anyway, we've gone all over the place. We've gone across the whole spectrum of fan. I suspect
Really across
somewhere
the
in here we've
multiverse.
got a...
I just wanted to say how cool I thought Jojo Dune would be, and sitting around Transformers. The
Well,
end
this
credit scene.
prompts a very important hot button topic. Of course, by the time most people listen to this podcast, the information may well be out there. But as
People
of
can
recording,
laugh at us.
it's Sunday, the 4th of June. Tomorrow in the United States time zone, sometime then, the HasLab will be announced.
Oh,
We all know it's going to be a dragonfly, right? Right? Is it even
absolutely.
worth
At this point,
debating
I'm
at this point?
convinced. Yeah.
Okay.
God, it'd be
So-
funny if it's not. Anyway.
Well, then this is really academic, which is fun in and of itself. But if we take it as read that it's going to be a dragonfly, I want to know what you fellas think are going to be the first, second, and third tier unlocks for said HasLab campaign. Rob, let's start with you, man.
Well, I mean, obviously, it comes with when Wild Bill. I mean, it has to.
Yeehaw.
But then I'd like to think you can unlock Airborne. I
Very
think that'd
good,
be really
yeah.
awesome. I think that'd be pretty cool. I think it'd be really cool if you could unlock. There isn't a dock in the classified line yet, right?
Damn it, that was my thing.
I think we
I love
all are
stretches
perhaps...
that you could put.
That's also my thing.
Yeah. I think we might all be of a feather here. But,
yeah, we want those stretches and dock to come with it. Oh, and also we want to be able to reproduce that scene in the cartoon we watched last week where you can put 3 figures in one of these instead of 2.
Yes.
That's what I
Yes,
want to see.
right.
That's level 4.
Then I am
my
going
word.
to diverge slightly and say, no, they're not going to expand the interior troop capacity of the Dragonfly. They're going to keep it lean and mean and attack helicopter. I do
Oh,
like
for
the
sure.
idea of Airborne being unlock number 1, perhaps, because there is a second chair and you've got to get another figure. I mean, maybe it would be a part of the base offering to have both
2
Wild Bill
figures.
and... Well, who's
Yeah, they
listed
should do that.
as the figure on the canopy class? I think it's like a Culbert or something. His name's Culbert. Because
Yeah,
it's
something like
just
that.
like the HasLab Sky Striker. There's a name on the classic Dragonfly, and that figure was never produced. So maybe we're going to get a unique figure as like the second chair, and then Airborne being a tier 1 unlock to give you a guide to ride the skids, basically. But also, I think optional weapon packs have got to be
That
a
makes
tier.
sense.
Because
Yeah, you
you've
just keep
got
adding
6
more.
missiles. You've got 6
Yeah.
missiles as part of the base Dragonfly, ordnance payload. But then like a rocket pod for each wing would be great that you can switch out. What other weapons would be cool? Like a laser gun.
Yeah.
Laser.
Or maybe you
So-
can swap out the gun underneath the
Or the gun that's on the skids. I mean, if they're going to do
Yeah.
classic Dragonfly, it's got that random cannon that just kind of hangs off the side of the
like sitting there.
fuselage.
It's like,
Mm.
okay.
I
Just attached
Yeah.
to a pipe and a
So-
bar.
extra accessories and the characters it comes with one of the ideas I had, because Rob, you mentioned Doc. So I thought maybe like a rescue mode of it.
There you
So
go.
you know, it comes with dock, comes with a stretcher. Maybe it's got like some kind of like to hang onto the skids, like a med pack, you know, with the rebreather, not a rebreather, like with oxygen and all that kind of stuff. So you could kind of, you know, play it out as like the dragonfly's landed. You throw the Joe on the stretcher. You can put like a mask on him and whatever's, and have him like, you know, airlifted out, and that kind of vibe. So I feel like that might be a thing. Like it's a medical rescue mode. Is the
I'm going
one.
to take that idea and run with it and just say that there are two ways to play this. You can either have a stretcher on each skid, like MASH style, or you could bring in the winch. Because the
Yes.
winch on the Dragonfly is a bit erroneous.
Ooh.
Is this a cargo? Like, is it supposed to be sling loading stuff? And then what is it sling loading? Like, there isn't an ammo dump in the classified line. Maybe they could make one, but more clever would be to make some kind of rescue cage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that you could kind of send down. The people on the
That's
ground
my
can
thinking. Yeah.
put the wounded trooper into it, and then it'd be hoisted up
And have
securely.
an IV and stuff. Yeah. That's the
Well,
word I was looking
jeez,
for earlier.
okay, I don't know, but like
Yeah, a
basically,
little IV and a little monitoring device. It's got lights on it.
Hey, it's GI Joe, dude. It could be that.
shoot
you
for
know?
the stars. Good, good, good. All right, so I think that's 1, 2, and 3 sorted. What is it?
A
Extra
crazy-
figure, weapons pack, and like a med pod.
Yeah.
And then we have to have one completely. They'll never do this because it's too cool an idea. They'll
A
never
USS
do this.
flag
though.
for it to land on.
A second.
No. Let's scale that back. Let's imagine Hasbro tries to get you to buy 4 of these things, and every one
Whoa.
of these dragonflies that you buy, if you get a certain tier, comes with a piece of the tactical battle platform. So if you buy 4 of them, you can assemble a whole tactical battle platform. So then you have 4 dragonflies to hoist the thing, and a tactical battle platform in classified style.
They were obviously
Why
very
not?
inspired by our video. I think, yeah, you're right.
That would be
Everyone at Hasbro's watched our
Or-
videos.
Yeah.
Knowing Hasbro's track record with the HasLabs leaving the factory with like mismatched parts, just imagine the pandemonium of trying to get a pallet together, going to one buyer with a sort of an A section, a B section, a C section, and a D section of a TTBP. I think you
I
will
didn't say
get
that.
hundreds of people, thousands of people even, like returning their HasLabs because they got like 2 left sides.
I didn't say they'd do it well. I just said it would be a really amazing idea if they could pull it off. Like,
It would
and
be
they
an
won't pull
absolute
it off. It's too
shitstorm.
crazy.
I would get my box of popcorn and take into the comments section of Facebook groups.
Yeah,
Very funny.
I mean, because they did royally mess it up with some of the Sky Striker stuff, hey. But
Well, you think to yourself, it'll never happen to me. And it didn't happen to me. But we all know Brian Lower, HCC 788. His HasLab arrived with no engines.
Wow. I mean, like, of all the people to have that
Of
happen
all the
to.
people. And he did it in a live stream. He was live taking this thing out of its box and he's like, oh, that's funny.
I'm
Nothing
sure
rolled
everybody's
onto the floor.
shattered
Like,
pants.
well, I don't know if even Brian is necessarily on the radar. Like, these guys are, well, I can't necessarily say that. He's a big, big name amongst
Yeah.
us. So maybe they're cognizant of him. But I think they're far more cognizant of comments happening on message boards than they are on like YouTube reviewers.
Yeah,
but
they don't have
think
time
about-
to watch videos.
But those comments probably read something like, "Yeah, I also watched Brian Lower's stream, and Hasbro screwed him over too." You know, and that's how those comments
Who's
read as
next?
well. Who's next?
Well,
know,
plenty
Chris
of people
McLeod.
were next. There's a lot of
Because yeah,
screw ups. Fortunately, mine wasn't screwed up because if it was, I would be screwed. I don't know if I had any recourse to get back at Hasbro. You know, having gone through a third party and being all the way over here. No ways, man. What, I'm supposed to
Yeah.
call their customer helpline? Be on hold, international style? Thanks a lot.
yeah, like, but yeah, I think still coming back
Sorry,
to the
sir,
idea,
we
I
don't
think it
ship
should be fun.
you in Austria. I beg your pardon.
Yeah, I still think it could be a fun idea. I would love to. I mean, it would be great if like Hasbro had their shit together to the degree that they could actually successfully do something like that. I mean, one of the obvious ways to like not mess that up is instead of making it an A, B, C, and D Dragonfly, just do 4 different artworks, for the respective like pieces of the TTBP, like just make it like 4 different artworks, and the people packing it can be like, okay, we have to put 4 of the different artworks on this palette. It's like, it's really not rocket science, but anyway. But then there's also the guys who have to pack the boxes, and Hasbro's oversight with that.
Paul,
So yeah,
I love you, but I think we've given this cockamamie idea of yours enough airtime. It's not going to happen. And if it was to happen, it would be such an afterthought. Like, if you think of the towable, like the deck vehicles that came with the Sky Striker, they are so piss poor. They're literally like the lamest slapdash.
Yeah, if this is how we get a TTBP, then I'd rather they not. Just don't.
It will be like Tupperware or like plastic. I don't know, beach. Like a kiddie's, like, I don't know, sandcastle making kit. Yeah, it'll be that thin, crappy plastic, just like the stupid vehicles for the HasLab Striker. Blech. They stay in the box, boys. They never see the light of day. Yuck.
They could do so many things. I mean, my mind is just going out there with like, people wanting a classified flag and all that shit. And it's like, it actually is possible to do. It's just not possible to do as one meal. If Hasbro could get their like logistics in check and make sure all of these things work, they could actually do a subscription service, and after 2 years, people could have a full-size classified.
Are you what those bi-weekly things like build a DeLorean? So you buy the magazine that has a little piece of the flag. Like, here's 1 deck plate this week, and then 2 weeks from now, another deck plate, and eventually over like 12 years, you'll have your own flag.
Hey, I've seen one of those DeLoreans, and I've seen one of those complete DeLoreans, dude, and it's freaking amazing.
I know, but
I'm very sorry that they screwed up my stuff.
Do a flag that way. I don't know, Paul. I think
that could be a way to do it.
For the stars.
I tried fading up the music like at the academy, so I could
move
you guys
I was playing the music so you could move us along.
You have to do it a bit more. You have to, But anyway, I like that you're so innocent, Paul. It's like,
it's not that. It's just that like
Never
I like an idea
and
I like it making it work. and the thing is, like, if I had Hasbro's power, financial power, and whatever's behind me, I could make stuff like that work easy. Not
the only
easy.
problem is convincing someone to buy 4 Dragonflies. That's the only thing.
Well, people bought like 5
$300 each.
Strikers.
$300. So that's $1,200 to get yourself a TTBP.
Yeah, but that makes sense. Think about it financially.
I'm not
it makes
thinking
sense because think about how many people bought multiple Sky Strikers.
Think about it this way: if you just wanted the TTBP and 1 Dragonfly, you'd flip the others. I mean, they probably will put a limit of 5 per customer. That's what they did with the Hiss. That's what they did with the Sky Striker. I think it was 5, not 4. So you'd be able to buy in excess and then turn them over on the secondary market, assuming the secondary market is hungry for this stuff. I mean, it's been kind of tepid for the Sky Striker, to be honest. Probably it ain't no sail barge.
It's just gonna take time. Eventually, people will buy them. People just gotta hold their horses.
It's just a Sky Striker. It has bells and whistles, but it also it fails in a number of key respects. It's like
it's just a jet.
It's not a winner.
It's still new though. It's the newest one that they produced.
Steve, you actually bring up a very good point there. Are you guys actually excited at the prospect of this Dragonfly? Like, does it excite you? Does it get a fire burning inside of you?
It's a classified Dragonfly. I don't give a shit. I'm just interested to see it. I'm excited that they're making it. I think that's pretty cool that they're making it. I want to see newly designed GI Joe toys. But it's a classified Dragonfly, so I don't give a like. I really don't care. Like, I'm never gonna buy one.
I am surrounded by the misery.
They're overwhelming fornication and destruction. There's no harmony in the universe.
We are completely.
I love the jungie. I love the jungie.
I love the jungie.
It's my favorite to stand here in the jungie. Oh, we are
Boys,
like half completed sentences in a suburban novel.
I knew you would
Even more
appreciate that shit. I
meaningless.
knew you would when I sent it to you. I was like, Rob is gonna love
Now we're,
this.
now we're completely unattached.
Guys, I couldn't give a shit about the Dragonfly, to be very honest with you. I think conceptually I love the idea of doing it.
we're losing listeners here, guys.
Yeah, no, sorry, listeners, but like, I just, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I don't feel like Hasbro's like fully getting things right. That I think getting excited for a Dragonfly is just us as fans getting excited at the prospect that Hasbro may not fuck this up. That is the wrong kind of mentality to have. When the modern era figures were coming out and they were announcing new toys, we were excited. We were like the excitement was palpable. People were like, "Oh my god, I can't wait to see what they do with XYZ figure." Oh, we've heard rumors of Lowlight having a bullet, or here's a picture of one of the accessories for Lowlight. People lost their shit, and it was exciting. It was like, yay!
Appreciate,
Like,
Paul, that for classified collectors, that is exactly what this feels like. Every release is a cause for celebration or misery or both. It's like the excitement
except
is
for
so
people who bought
palpable.
Falcon. Sorry, Falcon fans. I'm
No,
so sorry, Falcon fans.
there are wins and there are losses, of course. But
Yeah.
just because it's not tickling your fancy, flicking your bean,
Just-
this
Yeah,
is
but-
still an exciting time for GI Joe
Yeah,
fans.
yeah, for sure. I think classified.
I'm not just speaking for
fans are
myself,
happy
though.
with
That's what I'm
And
getting at. I
Let me
can
zoom out of
feel-
the cynical mode,
Yeah.
and it just occurred to me while Rob was on his tirade and while Paul jumped in to second it, that I fucking love talking about GI Joe with you guys. We've been doing it for over a decade now, and this is my happy place. And if a
Yay.
classified HasLab Dragonfly, for good or for ill, whether it's shit or good, or people have miserable expectations, or
Love talking about it.
or if it's amazing and it's just blowing the barn doors off everything, the fact that we can get together week to week and talk about it, that
What a
that is
privilege.
yeah, I love
Yeah,
it. I love the fact that out there's some hangers on, some GI Joburg diehards, our Berg
Hell
Force,
yeah.
our boys and girls, and undisclosed, who for some strange reason like hearing this banter too. We love you guys.
Absolutely. I think
love
that's
each other.
fantastic.
And
But
that's
yeah,
what GI Joburg is
Dragon-
all about.
absolutely. So I'm gonna pin this Dragonfly. I'm not interested in it personally, but I'm happy that people are. I'm glad that Hasbro is producing these wonders. I mean, it's a
These
large
behemoths.
scale figure. I think that's pretty cool, and I hope it is something cool for classified fans. I mean, it keeps GI Joe going in people's minds, the same way we
true.
do. So that's cool.
Just now they announced it, and I think it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
For sure, that's
then
the
I'm
thing.
gonna-
Once you see it, you're gonna want to buy it, especially when it comes with the TTPP.
Hey, I'm still trying to get my hands on this. I still
of
want
Tupperware.
Serpento and Mindbender, dude. Those are very exciting for me still. So
Well, there you go.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
full
need to
trouble
get
bubble?
that right before I can even think of a Dragonfly. So yeah.
Good
And a
times.
trouble bubble, yeah.
And
Yeah, but thank God that's a regular
band with
release,
rocket.
and I can get that through BBTS. I don't have to speak to like some kind of
Speak to
I don't have to go through hoops. I can just go to
Ah.
BBTS when it's announced and when they actually have it, and I can go pre-order and wait for it. That I can't do this like find some like dealer who's gonna make a plan, who's gonna do this and they're gonna do that, and it's like, for that to happen, it has to be really the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And like, unfortunately for me specifically, I think the snake, the Serpento and Mindbender are like stunning figures, and I really love the Air Chariot, and I like everything that's going on with those guys. And I have to go through these like weird channels to try and get my hands on something on those guys. So it's like modern era all over again, but it's okay. It's what we deal with as South African fans. It's just the way it goes. I mean, as I understand it, the Americans aren't having the easiest time of it either. So we're all in the same boat. But yeah, I can't think of a Dragonfly until I have a Serpento or Mindbender. Play the music. Play us out.
God damn, I feel like I
Shit, we should get a classified buzzball. Anyway, let's get the topic on hand.
Boys, Dawn of the Arashikage, parts 1 and 2 from Renegades. Did you watch this cartoon?
When it came out? No, I didn't. But I did watch
did.
it quite recently. Paul watched it when it came out originally. Is it
I
Dawn or
did, yes.
Return of?
Oh, is it Return? Whatever. Sorry, Dawn of the Arashikage is the storyline that deals with Dawn Moreno in the comic
Yeah,
books.
this
But
is
yes, Return of the
Return
Arashikage. Apologies. So which of the Arashikages are returning? Let's get into it. Rob, give us a summary from your perspective, in your own words. What happened in this two-parter?
Okay, so Snake Eyes drugs the GI Joe team. Takes them to his,
Nice guy,
to
huh?
his little cabin in the middle of the woods, and then they can't get away. And he's
Perfectly
decided that
timed.
they need to.
Just saying. Carry on.
He's decided that he needs to train them because they don't know squat about ninja stuff, and they're all really quite rubbish at it.
They don't know dick about shit.
Jinx is there too, and somehow Stupid Breaker has put the pictures of the Joe team on the internet, and the Arashikage have seen Snake Eyes because they're like, oh wow, there's a guy from the Arashikage clan, let's go fetch him.
Thanks, Breaker.
So they do a little bit of training. Jinx is there too, and this is basically we get to see the origin. This is the Renegades version of the origin of Snake Eyes, where he once again it all comes down to like if you could just write something down and explain yourself, all the misconceptions of this entire show would just be gone in seconds. But yeah, so there's an epic fight between Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. Jinx gets in it too, and yeah, everything goes all over the place, and eventually Jinx joins the Arashikage and leaves Snake Eyes behind because she thinks that he killed the Hard Master.
Not to be confused with the Arashikage. Cagney.
Yes, the Cagney.
We're ninjas.
That's kind of my perspective on this thing. They go out there and he's like, I need to train you. Anyway, what did you guys think of these episodes? Was this what you thought a new version of the Arashikage should be like?
I felt like if Snake Eyes doesn't want to get noticed, he shouldn't have an Arashikage tattoo on his uniform.
On his
Not even a tattoo. He just basically printed it on his uniform. So,
but maybe he wants Storm Shadow to track him down. Maybe that's his end game. Maybe that's why he was training the Joes to begin with. Look, guys, you know my stance on flashback heavy animation. It's just not an effective way for me to. Well, it's the only way. Your back's in a corner. It's not like they're gonna set a sequence and just run it through, set in the past. They want to kind of keep it in the now, but it's always so clunky, isn't it? We're in the middle of a fight. Let's talk about the past. What am I saying? Talk about the past. I'm monologuing because you can't talk. This is what
we hand gesture the past, which is actually a huge criticism I have for that episode as well. Just want to put that out there.
Too many hand gestures.
Okay, but let's start off on a positive note. I really like the idea that Jinx is Snake Eyes' disciple. Yes. That after the falling out of the Arashikage and the Hard Master's death, Snake Eyes splits, but Jinx comes with him. I like that.
Me too.
And the fact that this whole episode is vying for her allegiance. Storm Shadow arrives and he's like, no, you're coming with me, Kim. We're going to avenge your father's death. We're going to bring the Arashikage up to a new level. You're going to be at my side this whole time. Meanwhile, she's like, no, I want to stay with my master. And then Storm Shadow apparently exposes Snake Eyes' involvement in the death of the Hard Master, and that's the final straw. So there's this kind of interesting new avenue for storytelling that never existed in GI Joe before, where Snake Eyes is not only fighting Storm Shadow, but fighting his former apprentice as well. Will it go that way? We shall see. How about you, Paul? What did you like?
I like the whole difference to the comic book and any other lore that we've had before with the Hard Master's death. And I appreciated that they didn't go for the arrow thing. And I also like that we don't really know who poisoned the Hard Master. So I enjoy the questions that were created through the episode, and yeah, I actually thought that the forest was really, really nicely done. It had that cool misty feel, and
Again,
all
with the backgrounds.
The backgrounds are so
Right.
cool.
the
Give it a
backgrounds
rest, pal.
did work for me. That was fun. Like I think to be fair, I enjoyed most of it. I think the only thing I didn't really love too much, in fact, it's something I don't like from Renegades as a whole. I really hate that design for Storm Shadow. Like it's
Now we're
the
into the hating
worst.
stuff. Oh goodness.
It's the worst Storm Shadow design ever, and I can't stand it. And I also hate, and I also
Did
get
you check
annoyed
out
when
those extra parts that came with your Renegades Storm Shadow action figure?
they are in
Because
the
you
plastic
could
container.
make him classic, or you could
Or-
make him
shit
Renegade style.
Renegades.
Do you remember that?
So yeah, I do remember
Ooh.
that. I was looking at the pots the other day because I was putting new pots away in my boxes. But so like yeah, I can't stand that design, and I also don't like the fact that if you're gonna have an episode that is very martial arts heavy, or sword heavy, at least have Storm Shadow hold his sword correctly. For most of the episode, there were sections when he's actually holding his sword backwards, and I'm like, really? Like I've also seen.
Even I caught that. That's so weird.
Yes, it's like a toy thing that people do as well. But I've seen people post pictures of their like classified figures and stuff as well, and they put the sword the wrong way, and I'm like, are you blind?
It looks so
Can you
Or
not-
maybe
cool.
they're just grinding it out. I know exactly what you're referencing, and it wasn't actually a picture. It was a play motion.
Yeah. Okay. Shame. Yeah.
Don't worry.
Like,
The comments
But it
did kind
so
of harangue him.
cool.
yeah. So
Holding
it's
swords
just little
backwards
things
looks
like that.
freaking awesome. It's like it's all inspired by Darth Maul. That's what it is in the end. It all comes from Darth Maul with his double lightsabers. He's able to hold them forwards, backwards, all over the place, and it
Yeah,
looks
true.
cool.
But the lightsaber has an edge every which way you point it.
That's
Okay,
true.
Whereas a
that's
sword,
true.
what Paul's referring to is like Storm Shadow's what he's
Sounds
knocking people with the flat of the blade,
Yeah.
not the
Yeah.
edge.
He doesn't want to hurt them because he's an honorable man. Oh wait, he isn't actually.
No, he isn't.
Because
and then
that was a big thing as well. Like
so glad you touched on
the
that.
Hardmaster was influenced by Snake Eyes' honor and the way that
That
he kind of like
irritates
approaches
me.
stuff.
That
And
irritates me so much.
oh, does it actually?
Yeah, it irritates me so
Okay,
much.
okay. Then let me put a fine point on it for us all, fellas. Snake Eyes, young Snake Eyes, is a douchebag.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
wrote
was a
it
bit
down.
annoying.
The most offensive, groan-worthy line. And let's zoom out just for a second and say that I find any time you give Snake Eyes voice, it better be fucking profound and well
Yes.
measured. Because you
Yes.
can't make this important character, the few lines that he gets to speak, you can't make them as douchey as, well, the Hardmaster says after Storm Shadow kind of swipes one of Snake Eyes' like pillars that they're running on. The Hardmaster says, "No room for honor in their Arashikage. Sees every advantage." And then Snake Eyes promptly wins the race and says, "Honor is my advantage, Sensei."
Fuck off. Yeah,
But that wasn't as
I
bad
hated
as the
that bit.
line. I don't remember it exactly, but he's like sitting down for tea with the Hardmaster and the scene where he gets poisoned. And the Hardmaster's like, I want to change what the Arashikage is. We must no longer be
Oh, I've got it
ruthless. We
here.
must be honorable. And then Snake
I've got
Eyes
it
is
here.
like if you,
Rest
you
assured,
said,
Sensei, I will do everything in my power to lead the Arashikage down an honorable path, and I will
Oh.
protect I'll protect Storm Shadow until my dying breath.
It's like
Yeah,
I've
no.
inspired this old man to change his ways. Wow, this young boy came into his life and he's inspired him to change his ways. Very
Man,
very profound.
Very white savior
Here's-
as
here's
well, which
my-
I can't stand. Sorry.
Yeah, of course. This is problematic on a few levels. But now, like 10 years ago, these weren't issues. Or at least they were issues, but they were kept out of the mainstream. Now,
Yeah.
now we know that it's problematic to have a white knight, aka a Caucasian character, suddenly show up in feudal Japan by the looks of things. I mean, this is probably in the 90s, but there's not a shred of technology to make it look that way. I'm talking about the sort of the marketplace scene.
Well, it can't be that
Anyways.
long ago. I mean, it's like 10
No,
years.
no.
I mean, how old is Jinx in the story currently?
True. She's probably like 18.
18, and
She was
she's
8
apparently
back
8.
then.
Yeah, so
Mm.
it's not that long ago. Jeez.
Yeah, but it looks like feudal Japan, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
My point though is like you have to strike a balance, and it's tough because this show has lulled us with its writing, with its kind of well fleshed out characterizations, that it's aimed at an older audience. But then when they dumb down Snake Eyes' backstory like this, you must remind yourself this is for kids so that they can understand the good versus evil split. So that's why he's a douchebag. But like, it lacks any of the nuance. I'm reminded of one scene from I think issue 26, like the Snake Eyes origin issue, where Hardmaster and Softmaster are watching Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow spar, and Hardmaster turns away before the first blow is struck, and Softmaster's like, "Huh, do you know the outcome?" And he's like, "Yeah, Snake Eyes won." And like Softmaster's like, "Nah, clearly you didn't hear what I heard. I clearly heard Snake Eyes' sleeve being cut by the young master, Storm Shadow." And the Hardmaster's like, "Yes, but Snake Eyes let him win because he wanted the young master to save face in front of us. That's the strength of Snake Eyes. Like that's so nuanced and so fucking cool, man. That he is better, but he will not blow his own trumpet ever. He will only use it when it's absolutely necessary, not to settle some petty squabble.
Exactly.
Anyway, you can't. You can't convey that in a 22 minutes kids cartoon.
No, you can, but it's very difficult.
That's going to have 2 parts, 50 minutes.
They had 8 flashback scenes between these two. Come on, guys, 8. 8. Too much. 8.
Yeah, and they were pretty much ineffective as well. Like they didn't. One of those 8, I think 3 of them were the same scene repeated. Because it was the same.
No, I counted that as 1. I counted that as 1.
Oh,
wow.
Okay.
It would have been closer to like 12, maybe.
Yeah, we just didn't get we could have gotten cool highlights of the sort of dichotomy between the Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes as they were training and the whole thing. But like maybe it's just because I've read enough books and stuff on this shit that like not technically, but with the whole ninja thing, like killing the master is actually in a weird way a means to inherit a system. Like it sounds cruel, but it's like a nature thing. The master's gotten to a point where they're too old to defend themselves, so the strongest and the ballsiest member could challenge and kill him, or just kill him. And because he's killed him, he's now
out of the system. That they incorporate the school into their
exactly
that's another way.
That is one way of looking at it. So like is technically Snake Eyes in a lot of ways in the old, let's call it the old Arashikage way as the cartoon sees it, actually didn't do anything wrong. He just took power.
If he was the killer.
Over a ninja clan, if he was the killer, but we know he wasn't. Also, ninja are famous for using poison, and one of the things that you're trained with when it comes to poison is a resistance to it,
which they explain in the modern day.
Yes.
So it's interesting that the Hardmaster never had that training.
Exactly. So yeah, because you basically
at least everyone's always carrying a bamboo sliver in their outfits.
Well, that's exactly right.
One back in the day, and he's also carrying one.
That's quite an interesting concept, though, for a kid's cartoon. You're like, oh, he's going to give him, a tracheotomy.
Yeah. Yeah.
They do harp on that. I mean, but it's like, as it's always happened. I'm pretty sure this has happened in other stories before that we've discussed. If he could he doesn't even have to talk. He could just write shit down.
Yeah.
It's like, give me a moment. He writes it down. I was trying to perform a tracheotomy. He was dying from poison. Oh, okay then. Well then,
yeah.
Cool, master. You're still a cool dude. The bow, namaste, whatever. So I mean, he doesn't.
Mm,
Talking is not the only form of communication, and he does have other forms. He has hand signals he can do. He has the ability to write, even though he grew up in feudal Japan.
I
You
once
know?
worked for a director who told me that you can reset scripts in basically 2 eras now, because if you can't straddle the two, you either have them in a pre-cellular phone era or post-cellular phone era,
Yeah.
because so much of the things that vexed us in a pre-cellular phone era do not. The communication is so easy now. You're
Yeah.
not going to be wandering the streets looking for your brother's killer when it's actually someone else, because they'll just get you on the text and say, hey, slow down, pal. You got the wrong guy. These mistaken identity issues
Uh-huh.
would not occur. And unfortunately, Renegades, in kind of adopting the Snake Eyes Storm Shadow backstory from an earlier time, have kind of issued that divide. Like, they
Yeah.
really need to be cognizant of the fact that, yeah, Snake Eyes could just stick it in a text, stick it in an email, write it on his forehead. I don't know. Like, somehow
I did not kill
convey the
Hardmaster.
truth.
Yeah.
And there would have been
Hashtag did
ways
not
of
kill
proving that.
Hardmaster.
Anyway, I'm gonna rate
Yeah.
this guy with a 2.5, right down the middle. I feel like I'm doing a lot of Renegades like that. I want it to
Yeah.
soar to some lofty heights, so this is a kind of a middling. Like, it's a serviceable way of conveying the story, and I pluck one very cool new element out of it, and that's kind of the eternal struggle between good and evil, and basically Jinx's soul is in the middle.
Mm.
That's cool. That was perhaps not the intention of this episode, but that's what I draw from it. Yeah,
Good.
and some funny
like-
lines. I mean,
Yeah.
Roadblock is being pulled out of a burning building or house, and he's like, "Sorry, snakes, they make them heavy in Biloxi." That tells me that they read Roadblock's file card.
If they
Yeah.
know so much about these characters, they could write them better.
Right.
Well, Snake Eyes did get them all into that, all into the cabin by himself. So that is actually quite impressive. I mean, we know that he can pick up Roadblock. So
He can do
that's
it.
insane.
So, Paul, where do you fall on this episode?
I also
It's-
I feel it's average. It's an average episode. So I'd also say like 2.5
Alright.
because it's an okay ninja story and it's an okay GI Joe story. It's not an exceptional any of those things. I would excuse it if it was an exceptional ninja story that was very much a huge departure from it being GI Joe, but still was serviceable. Then I'd give it a higher review, and likewise the other way around. But it's just so middling. It's so average on both sides. Also,
yeah,
you know,
that's where I'm coming from too. It's like it doesn't do anything new with the origin, and it's not like super exciting to watch either. Like the action isn't always absolutely amazing, and that tool that Duke was given when they're on the waterfall at the end, suddenly
the
that chain can
Kusarigama.
just extend to any distance that you
Oh,
need it
yeah.
to. Like it's like a short little thing, and then suddenly it's like miles long, and they're like flying off a waterfall to catch Snake Eyes, and it's like, oh wow, that was
Yeah.
so much fun.
Yeah,
Good job.
that was that irked me a little, but I can be okay with it because of ninja logic or because of cartoon logic. The thing that annoys
Yeah.
me is like how proficient Jinx is physically. Like she can do all kinds of stuff. She can jump up in trees and she can do all that, but she gets stuck in a hole and she can't get out of it.
That was
And that
another
really,
thing that annoyed
really
me too.
irritated me. Yeah.
Like suddenly she couldn't go very far up the hole. Yeah, that was also annoying. She just had to be in the hole for a while.
Yeah. Like I get it's a plot divide, it's a plot thing, but
Contrivance, but it's like it logically makes no sense. It's
Yep.
just like
She falls
why did
into
you
a
do that?
hole, and then snakes kind of slither out of gaps in the hole and are threatening her. And all of a sudden, I
Yeah.
thought to myself, I wonder if the writers on the Snake Eyes Origins movie watched that scene and were like, yeah, hit with snakes. Let's do
That's
that.
such a cool concept. Oh, I love it.
In the rain, because snakes love
Snakes are definitely associated
Hmm.
with the Arashikage, the history.
The
of-
film was very Arashikage centered, and so
I think they would have
maybe
watched all.
this episode would have been on the kind of essential watching list.
that. Watching this, it's
possible.
possible.
Yeah, probably.
Yep.
I mean, they definitely did. I mean, because Jinx wasn't always. I mean, she isn't part of the Arashikage originally, right? I mean,
Oh no, she is. Her surname is
right from the very
is
start.
Kim
Okay.
Kim
Arashikage.
Arashikage, yeah.
Okay, I never bothered to know Jinx's name. I thought there was like a
Kim
contrivance of
Arashikage.
cartoons, and then from there they kind of like they kind of made it that way. Okay, well,
I didn't
just
know her
learned something.
father was the Hardmaster. That I think was new information in this cartoon. I think because the file card says that she grew up in the United States and then went to Japan on like a family visit and just stayed there. and
Oh,
was
so the
trained
family's just
in
really
the
big.
ninja.
Like they are like non-ninja members of the family who are like, we're not
Well, they
interested
don't call
in
him the
part
hard
of this.
master for nothing, hey. I'm just
Well, what I thought was kind of what I thought was implied, or actually as I was watching the episode, I was like, okay, so he was the hard master because he took this it's not about honor, it's about being the craziest ninja person you could possibly be, ruthlessness, and now I'm all about being honorable. Now I am the soft master. That's what I thought was happening there. They're just going to change his name from being the hard master to the soft master.
that's another thing that's like kind of a mess up there as well, because he's literally the only master. The other guys in the background are just like, they're just like shills. They're just like there to
They're
like.
just there.
The
Well, I mean,
men.
that's also a thing with the
You guys
movie.
remember when they had that like really like bad like hubbub? It was sort of rhubarb. You know, what do they call it? Wobber, when you got background action.
Yeah,
You need voices, and it was like very clearly not Japanese, but it was like gobbledygook that sounds Japanese.
No.
Gross. Come on.
Yeah, that was
And
gross.
also, Paul, I know that you wanted to raise this on previous episodes, but it's something that I have a super awareness of now, and not just because this particular passage of episodes plays it heavily,
all
but
the
like
time.
anytime there's a martial artist on screen, you get the Asian flute. Yeah. Oh dear.
Oh,
And
thank you.
It's every time Snake Eyes kind of pops on the screen in a regular episode, they get the woo.
It's literally, I went back and rewatched, because Stephen mentioned to me off air. I went back and rewatched the package, and like every single time it comes on, it's like woo.
Guys, thank you for bringing that up, because there's also something about this episode that I think because I literally just watched it as a refresher before we did this episode.
It is relentless.
And I gotta say that if I do anything play motion that involves ninjas, I'm gonna use this episode or these two episodes soundtrack as a cautionary tale. The soundtrack is actually really irritating. Like, I found it very distracting and very, like, it had the wrong mood. It was just very irritating. It was like, you know, when you buy a Snickers bar, it looks like a Snickers bar, the color of the Snickers bar, everything is there, but it's not called Snickers, it's called like Schnackers or something. That's what it felt like. It felt like it wasn't Japanese enough. If you know what I mean. It's like it's just annoyingly fake. It's annoyingly canned. I couldn't stand it. But anyway, that was another like sort of issue I had with these two episodes. And also, I don't feel that there needed to be two episodes. It's another thing that I felt with this thing. But on a positive, I like that we focused quite a bit on Jinx and her as a main character and her sort of having to choose what's going on.
Well, it's a nice introduction to her character. I mean, you get a little bit of Storm Shadow, but the focus is who is she and how does this all affect her? So I mean, the flashbacks and all of that was basically giving more context to like how does this affect her and where does she go next? So it was still being current by showing you the old stuff. So the flashbacks were kind of in service, but still flashbacks.
And I got a question for you guys, just with regards to Storm Shadow, because Celia and I were chatting about Storm Shadow because she was kind of she enjoyed the episode, which again, and I always like to, if I can include her thoughts or her reactions into something like this, I dig it because this is a person who's not into GI Joe at all. And she was very curious about the whole origin. Like she because when she saw it, she was like, "Oh, is that why Snake Eyes doesn't speak?" And I'm like, "In this cartoon, yes, that's why Snake Eyes." And she was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then she asked me to elaborate on that, and that was cool, because that got her interested in asking questions. So I thought that was great, but it did prompt me to wanting to ask you guys about Storm Shadow, just in general. Like, how do you guys like Storm Shadow being 150% villain, like horrible badass, or do you like the idea of him being sort of he does what he needs to do in service of him trying to find the people who killed the Hardmaster? So ultimately what I'm asking is, do you think Storm Shadow is a bad guy, or do you think he's a good guy? And with that, where do you think he should actually sit? What's the best position for him for you guys?
Take first crack at it, Rob. I think I've got
Oh my goodness!
fairly
You obviously have a
reasoned
prepared answer.
It's something that
well-
I think about in my spare time, as you do.
That's absolutely wild. Well, obviously, if we all just sit around thinking about Storm Shadow, his tattoos, whether how many tattoos you should have, where they are, obviously that's what we do.
Both sides, clearly.
Full
You can't
sleeves,
even make out
kneecaps,
the
all over the
fucking
place.
hexagram. You just like
You covered it up.
mosaic. Where is it? Exactly.
Yeah,
Hide in plain sight.
Arashikage. But I think I like it when he's more conflicted. But then also that also comes down to a child misunderstanding a situation, and also that also then feeds into misunderstandings that could have been very easily solved, if he was able to write shit down. Because obviously you can initially have that kind of misunderstanding. He leaves, and I can understand, like, yeah, I think initially I like him as an antagonist, but then it's kind of cool for him to kind of come to the realization of, actually, no, whoever did this was wrong. That I'm wrong, and I need to be a better person. And I like that there's a character in GI Joe that has that kind of turn in their character, in who they are, and I enjoy it being Storm Shadow. So yeah, I don't think he should be a full-on villain 100% of the time. But I like that there's development in his character. So I like that. I like the idea of that version of Storm Shadow, where initially he is one way, but he kind of comes to be a different person later on, which I think he doesn't do so much in the comic books. Obviously, in the comic books, he's just
no, he does.
No,
does
comic
he
books
though?
he does. Yeah.
But I mean, from the start, he was only doing it to find the killers of his uncle. I mean, he was essentially good from the very start, but he chose a very morally dubious route to kind of like get the answers.
Because he started out extremely filled with rage and desperate for, he was fully prepared to shake hands with the devil. My answer goes along the lines of, like, we see in Storm Shadow not only the most complex character of G.I. Joe, but also the one who the passage of time has a effect on. Because he, at a very young age, perhaps even as soon as he could walk, he was trained by this badass ninja secret clan to be a living weapon. He was fashioned so hard. He probably denied all the kind of youthful enjoyment because he was the star pupil of this clan of killers. He was sent off to Vietnam as a kind of a graduation or final exam, basically, like to be thrown into a very dirty jungle war, and either he survives or he doesn't. Like, this is the test of our star pupil. And immediately he starts softening a bit because he establishes his first real friendship. His brothers in arms, if you want to include Stalker in that number, and maybe Wade as well. But
Sean,
still,
Sean's dad.
No, Wade. Oh no, Sean's.
That is Wade. Yeah, Wade is his dad.
Ah, so you do know, Rob. Good.
I know some stuff.
Stitching together. And then takes this guy into the coven, into the fold. And then his whole world falls apart. So all of a sudden he's this powerful entity with no future, no way to use his energies other than in rage. And he wants to find this killer. Like how he transforms from that to the moment where he takes Billy under his wing and becomes a master himself, becomes a teacher, and philosophically makes the decision to lay down his sword, like stop this quest for vengeance because it just takes you down a path of self-destruction. Like Storm Shadow's transformation from bad guy to good guy is literally just him aging out enough to have the wisdom to like cool himself and let that more philosophical side overtake the hot-headedness. So I believe in him when he wears the Cobra symbol and is prepared to kill in service of Cobra. And I equally believe in him when he has turned the corner and says martial arts is just a means to an end. It's not the end itself. Like the doctor does not enjoy the disease. We do not enjoy violence. I'm paraphrasing the comic book, but basically, like, yeah, I like Storm Shadow's arc is very vivid for me. And that's why he can be a bad guy and a good guy.
Yeah, he's a really great ninja. Like, if you think about it, like he goes on this, like you said, he goes on this quest for vengeance. Initially, he's trying to. Well, it's interesting because it's kind of vengeance, but at the same time, he's actually trying to find the actual killer, and so he adopts being the bad guy. He's like he wears the skin of a villain, and he's really good at it. Like, you know, he sort of fully commits himself to that, and when he's figured out what he needs to figure out, then he's like, okay, cool, now I've got to drop this all. And I've been thinking about Storm Shadow quite a lot because there's like ideas and things that I have. But in my headcanon, I've always felt that Storm Shadow was never a bad guy, but knew how to be a bad guy, you know, as a means to an end, and then had to find redemption for all the bad things that he's done, and then actually learned what it meant to be the master, the leader of the Arashikage. And I also feel like the Hard Master, in some ways, kind of saw that in him as well, and went, it's not that he's incapable of being the leader of the Arashikage, but rather he needs to earn it. Whereas I think he saw Snake Eyes and was like, Snake Eyes is really great, you know, would be a great like figurehead for the Arashikage now, kind of thing. And maybe that just created. Well, then we know that Cobra intervened. I mean, Cobra didn't want Arashikage to be stable, to cause the whole thing. But I was just more curious on your thoughts, guys, because like I often sit here because when I was telling Celia the whole story, I feel like, and I'm glad we're rereading Ara as well. I feel like my whole perception on Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes has been completely skewed because in my mind, how it works is. And I should reread this again just to be so everything I'm saying now is how I'm remembering and how I've galvanized it in my head. But Storm Shadow is not actually angry with Snake Eyes. It's Snake Eyes that's angry with Storm Shadow. And Storm Shadow, instead of like, you know, being a bitch about it, goes, okay, I'm going to go and find the source of my killers. Then joins Cobra to get into there, the source of the Hard Master's killer. Then joins Cobra and does that. It's Storm Shadow. It's actually Snake Eyes is the one that has the grudge. It's Snake Eyes is the one who can't put the sword down initially, which is how I see it in my mind. Maybe it's because I like Storm Shadow so much that I'm making Snake Eyes out to be the villain. And also, I feel like Snake Eyes hasn't grown as a character. I feel like Storm Shadow, like you said, Stephen, like Storm Shadow really has grown. He really does understand like this hard path, and he has learned how to like forgive himself in a lot of ways. Anyway, so it's a whole thing. I feel like we need a Storm Shadow episode one day in the future.
I feel like we've done it in the past for definitive Storm Shadow. But
yeah,
it's always a cool thing to touch on. I'm not going to lie. I
Keep touching
I
it.
get a lot out of these kind of discussions, and I hope the listeners do too. Guys,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think we're gonna wrap up the media section of the podcast and save comic books and old school cartoons for another session because we've got some new shit to talk about.
Yeah, and
I
you
think,
do.
I think I agree with you. We've technically done 2 cartoons this episode. Technically.
Yes, indeed.
Indeed.
Well, before I get into my news, does anyone else have any new shit they'd like to
News?
discuss?
I'll take this one for now. So,
Whoa!
as I mentioned earlier in the episode, the awesome human being known as Ryan Sweeney happened to make my dreams of having a Tiger Force Outback in Classified a reality. So now I
Spoilers.
have
You haven't even shown pictures.
I haven't shown pictures, primarily because I actually want to save it for like a review thing, if possible, and I want to save my thoughts on it for that review. I'm very, very happy to have this toy. I'm beyond thrilled. It's I think you guys saw when I sent you a picture on the WhatsApp group. I was just really excited about this guy, and yeah, and when I was talking about playing with toys, he was one of the toys that I was playing with. Another cool arrival came in the form of Greg Crockett. So thank you very much, Greg. He sent a whole bunch of stuff to Stephen, and then Stephen forwarded to Rob and myself.
Those
so thank
have
you very much
arrived
for that,
already.
Steve. It has
What?
arrived already. I'm busy putting it in a box for
It
you, Rob,
takes
to have it.
fucking 10 days for a pair of glasses to get back to me, but figures arrive within like a week. That's crazy.
Aramex is
absolutely
amazing, right?
Amazing.
So
That's pretty freaking awesome.
pretty freaking awesome. But here's the thing. I don't want to show off any of the figures that I got until Robert's got his. So I'm hoping that you will have yours by this coming weekend. Because you got some very cool stuff, and I don't want to discuss what you got because that would be spoilers.
That would be very spoilery. Oh, okay. Well, that's off air.
But I feel like maybe I can mention the toys that I got, at least mention them, and then we can discuss them at length when you get your stuff, Rob, and then we can get excited. They are GI Joes.
Whoa.
So I finally got Fisherman Bazooka.
Dude,
and
I'm so glad.
He's
Finally.
great. I finally got him. He's so cool. And I didn't just get the figure, I got all of his accessories. So Greg, thank you, man. That's pretty freaking amazing. Also got a Mirage from the Mega Marines, complete with his cool goggles. And also all of his accessories. So his BFGs, because he's got 2 big freaking guns. And yeah, so that is super happiness here in the Lobsha household. And then another great guy, a figure I didn't know existed for a long time, is a character called Banzai from the Ninja Force. Basically, it's the same figure as Vega from Street Fighter, Balrog. And wow, so I just got him, and he's got the coolest pink pants ever of any GI Joe that I can think of right now, or black and pink pants. And Celia thought he was very S&M. And then I saved, I'm going to call it the best for last, but actually all of these toys are on the same level of excitement for me. And I've got him over here on his stand. And that is the Night Creeper Leader, as in the orange one, which is so good. This toy is so cool, guys. I know I said I wouldn't talk about them too much, but oh my word, this toy is cool. And Night Creeper Leader really is a hidden gem in this line. It's a Ninja Force figure.
Duke riding his missile launcher. No, he's way cooler. Of course,
he's way cooler. I'm sorry. Duke riding his missile launcher is fun, but the Night Creeper Leader is a Ninja Force figure with no Ninja Force action features, which just immediately elevates him to a special level. And he comes with the coolest
saying
gear.
That he's actually supposed to be a Ninja Force guy. Paul's merely saying that he's a ninja.
He's a ninja.
Without any
he's totally a ninja.
Choppy action.
He's got 2 swords. He's got Road Pig's gear. He's great. And it's given me so many cool, fun ideas for stuff. And these are the toys I've been playing with. I actually found myself at 2:00 in the morning, acting out some cool little scenes with the Night Creeper and Banzai and everything. So anyway, I'm very excited with my new
Joes again.
toys.
Look, Paul, I'm glad you didn't keep a lid on it, like we discussed you would, because then let's pour it on. Pour some love onto Greg and Natalie and Lost and Found Toys. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they have a storefront now in Seymour,
What?
Indiana. Yeah. If you're passing
That's
through
so
Seymour, check out Lost and Found Toys. They are the most wonderful toy dealers you're ever likely to meet. And
Oh heck yeah!
our relationship with them has run a number of years now, but you don't have to take my word for it necessarily. I often hear Lost and Found Toys being referenced by other fellow GI Joe podcasters who've been to local GI Joe or just general toy shows, and Greg and Natalie are there with their wares, and it is always a glowing experience. Like the review on these podcasts is wonderful to listen to because I'm like, I know those guys. That's awesome. So yes,
We've had
anytime
food
I
with
hear
them.
podcasts
We've
from the
broken bread
pits,
with them.
yeah, we have broken bread with
Yeah.
them. They offered us their couches, but we decided, no, we got to get to Chattanooga. Sorry, guys. We will plunge through the night in the middle of a rainstorm with massive semi trucks blazing past us in every direction.
That was
Yeah,
so
it was
cool.
dramatic stuff. Was it?
Paul
Because I was
slept through it.
shitting my
He really
pants,
enjoys
Paul.
Yeah, so was I, but it was cool. You know,
Anyways, Greg and Natalie, love you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the sweet, sweet care package. I can't even call it that. It was a massive, massive,
Message of
intensive care
love.
package.
yeah, toy drop, like a paradrop from
Joe
the
dump.
sky. You
I
beautiful,
love it.
beautiful people.
Reinforcements have
So yes,
arrived.
if you are in Seymour, Indiana, check out Lost and Found Toys. Google it. If you're even passing in the remote vicinity, Greg and Nat
If you're
will
like
make it
3
worth your
states
while.
over, just go there. Make
Yeah,
that
you
your
got
final
another
destination.
reason. Yeah, you got. I mean, yeah, just
Yeah.
go and do it. Just go and do
Of
it
course.
because, yeah, I don't want to compare them to anybody else. They are great.
Don't do it. They're good
There's lots of great reasons to go to Indiana, but they're the first great reason.
for sure. The food. That's number 2.
I have become a Facebook Marketplace whore. It is the best way to
My
get deals on stuff that is literally in your area. So
On
I'm
singles in your area.
hot
goodness.
toys in your area, man.
Hot
So I stumble
toy.
onto like Facebook's suggestions for me one fine day had this lots of GI Joe figures. Amazing.
No way.
Yeah. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
Like 25 minutes down the road, there were multiple pictures. The first picture had, I could clearly see a Fostraw, a Worms, a sneak peek, a Battle Android Trooper with his hand, Blizzard,
Hydro
the
Viper.
Hydro Viper, yeah, bunch of guys. Dr. Mindbender,
A bunch
like
of figures we
all common figures, but it prompted me to quickly respond to the seller and say like, yo, what price do you want for this lot? She was like, $260 Australian, which is about 170 US. I was like,
Word.
I could buy a
I
hotel.
can see some value there because I don't think they had all their accessories, but they certainly had a fair few of them. Where's the picture? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I poured over the pictures and there were accessories there, and I was like, starting to look a bit sweeter. I could probably complete a few figures for my Tom. Then I peer a few pictures later, and lo and behold, there's some vehicles. There's a stun with a flag. There's a flag there. The flag's still attached.
It has
Cool.
He means the flag for the stun, dear listeners.
As opposed to what?
As opposed to an
actual
actual
flag,
USS flag. I would hate for the listeners
Oh, I
to
saw the
make
spanner
that
was
mistake.
sitting on a US flag.
Oh
with
yeah, no, sorry, don't get
150
excited.
US
It was
dollars.
no, but look, getting an unbroken flag for a stun is remarkable. And when I actually, well, yeah, I'll get to that in a later portion of the story, but like it's a much more durable flag than the ones that I'm used to. The stun
Hmm.
flag I'm referring to, not the USS flag.
I wonder how
Silly
he knows
boys.
that. He's spoiling the end of the story already.
Anyway, Cobra Wolf, anyone? Classic vehicle.
Ooh,
Love that
So
vehicle.
good.
It's a good vehicle. Hmm. There was a maggot. So the Worms drive obviously was included with the figures, but it did give me faith that there was going to be a maggot. And there indeed was. Wonderful. Good tank. I mean, good artillery piece. But you could play it like a tank. I'm sure that was part of the intention anyway. There was a bag of like miscellaneous figures. There was a Street Shark, a Superman, some Motu guys.
Street Shark is exciting. Just saying.
Street Shark is.
Ooh,
It's
Karate
a
Kid
sort of a
figure.
knight. Yeah, Daniel LaRusso, exactly. With his sort of chopping action and kicking action still functioning, which is fun.
Oh hell yeah!
And the Street Shark, I realize, goes for fairly good money, even with paint wear and no accessories. I've seen him go for like upwards of 120 US. His name's
Wow.
Ripster. He's like the like a knight version of Ripster, which I think is the lead. I don't know. Anyway, stumble onto the final image of this lot.
Whoa.
Cobra
Oh
Terrordrome
my. Oh. Okay.
This still takes
With
my breath away.
with Firebat.
Whoa. A new Firebat or the original Firebat?
The original intended Firebat for the Terrordrome.
Whoa.
And it even seems to have like extra parts. So maybe the person who owned it was like piecing it together from other Terrordromes, or maybe they got extras in the box back in the day. Anyways, long story short, or long story long, I got in my car immediately and burned it to this woman's house because for 280 Australian dollars, all of that was the greatest find of my life. Probably the greatest find of my life.
Nothing.
She informed me that there were at least 2 other people blowing up her inbox while I was en route. So it was nail-biting stuff. But gentlemen, at the end of all of
If I never
this,
TD.
I
You
have
didn't
a
get it.
Terrordrome.
Oh, you did get it. Wow.
And it's more complete than mine.
I put this sucker in my boot, guys, and drove it home. Plus all the extras. Yeah.
Absolutely
Good times
wild.
were
So
had by
you have
old.
all you got all of this stuff. This entire
I've got the
lot.
big. Yeah, the lot is mine.
Absolutely insane.
Congratulations on that, dude. Nice shot there, by the way. Is
Well
that your shot?
done. Is that your shop?
Yes, it's now sitting atop the spare bedroom bed because I have no place to put this
It's
thing.
huge.
Certainly not with a 2-year-old running around. And man, oh man, it's a rickety toy. Oof.
Yep. Just please
So
watch out for
rickety.
those balcony things. I can't think of the name of them now, but you know what the guns sit on? Those things are
Parapets.
very fragile. The parapets.
Parapets.
As you guys
The
know,
whole
I had to
thing
go and get
is-
those from JoeCon. So
Whoa.
yeah, I had to
Well, I've got a spare one
negotiate for
now.
those.
Hey.
very
Like I
lucky.
say, spare parts galore.
Steven's gonna
And-
sell.
Well, no ways. I was delighted that the collection came from her son, who emigrated to New
Aw.
Zealand and is not coming back for his Joes. That's for sure.
You
Because
know.
they're mine now.
Good luck trying to find
But
them.
he was very meticulous. Like all the figures are very minimally paint worn. A lot of accessories were missing. I'd say 70% of the accessories are there. So, but what was great was, I mean, as you might know, if you have a Terrordrome or if you have a maggot, like they've all got pins that easily crack off. Like the fueling ports is oftentimes cracked hose pins, but the pins are still inside the rubber. And with the maggot, the radar dish was inside the seat well, and the broken pin was still inside the mount. So I took a
Nice.
little paintbrush and pushed it through, got the pin out, reset it, re-glued it, reinforced it, pushed it back in there. Great. So I had a delightful time just like extracting broken pins and gluing them back in place. I'm never going to
Oh.
practically use those hose port posts. Like, you put a rubber on a frail, thin piece of plastic.
It's gonna break.
The rubber flexes, the plastic does not. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, but I've got all the hoses. I've got all the fuel pumps. This thing it's missing one cannon tip. I think that's it. And AVAX
Well, you might as well.
parachute
I might as
pack.
well give you one cannon tip then. Then at least you have all of them, and then I have none of them. Then it looks uniform. I'm kidding, by the way.
That's the best idea.
But I love that you got all the door guns, especially the swing out doors, because that's what I'm missing on mine. Is I'm missing out the swing out doors and the guns. So
Okay, well, I'm afraid I don't have extras of those, but
no, man,
yeah,
I don't.
What
one
a
day, one
delight!
day. Also, like, check how nice your computers are inside there. Like, they're not bubbling or anything, from what I can see.
That's the
mine are quite
Australian
bubbly.
atmosphere, the weather in Australia.
Nah, look, under closer scrutiny, the edging of the stickers is all kind of a little bit white, and there
That's
is
expected.
bubbling.
Okay. Oh,
Is
okay.
it? Look, if you got a repro, it's expected if this stuff has been stored poorly.
Yeah.
There's kind of an adhesive drift. The glue kind of spills out on either sides and gets that furry, linty appearance.
And tell the and the listeners, I'm sure, want to know: does your elevator work for the AVAC, the launch tube?
Why wouldn't it?
I don't know.
Why wouldn't it?
Sometimes they're faulty. Sometimes they don't work.
Well,
Sometimes they're missing
the chain. The chain is there. It works. It's rickety like everything else on a Terrordrome. I feel like I need to kind of grease it somehow, but I wouldn't know where to fire some WD-40. Like, is it in the track? Like, what is the source of the friction? Look, dude, I was just thrilled. I mean, as you know, I love cleaning up dusty old finds. And the Terrordrome presents a interesting predicament because there's no ways you could fit it into your tub. In fact, most standard showers, you're going to struggle to fit that thing through a shower door. So, just like with your Terrordrome, I took it out into the yard and turned the hose pipe on it.
Yep. It had to happen, man.
No, Paul, you were stalling, boy. You had that Terrordrome for months, and it was disgusting. And I was like,
yeah, because I was
on,
scared, man. I didn't want to break it. Like, I was shit scared.
That's why you need someone who doesn't own it to wash it for you, because they don't give a fuck.
But I
Not my
also,
toy.
but I also have found, like, one of the secrets to, like, toy cleaning, especially, and it's worked so well on my jets here, is I use car dash cleaner. It's a company called Sheen or Shield, and I use their car dashboard interior cleaning spray, and it's really, really good on the plastic because after you've done an initial clean and you've wiped it down or whatever, and you spray some of that on, and you let it sit there for a little bit, and then you use a cloth and you wipe off the excess, it actually becomes quite dust resistant. It makes it anti-static, and it's really great because I had my Night Raven, my Python Patrol, Conquest, and my X19, and they don't have dust on them. And that's insane. So,
dude, this is an incredible find. Like, everything
so
you
cool,
find
dude.
here is just like wild.
Like, and I still have that. I still have that dream.
From you too. Yeah.
I still have that dream that I wanted to buy, you guys Terrordromes as well. Like I said on a much earlier episode, if I crack a lotto or something like that. So now, thankfully, Steve, I only have to buy one.
No, Stephen wants 2 of these.
I want 4, one on each of my corners of my bed. Terrordrome bedposts.
But shit, dude, it's cool, and I'm sure you are feeling the magic behind it now. Like, now that you have your own one, you like
now you understand why it's so special.
Yes, I swore off the Terrordrome since I didn't feel I needed a base for Cobra. They're always best as just being this kind of placeless enemy, eternally present, but like completely, they never had a home. Like, I don't want to play out Cobra's domestic life. Now that I have a Terrordrome, I finally have a place to just place all those classic figures. It works best with figures, you cap it at 1986, maybe 87, but everything from those eras just work so sweetly with it. The vehicles as well. It as a center point, finally for Cobra, it is essential.
Mm.
Just
Such a
like
cool,
a
like-
flag is essential for your jets to park on. Like you need a Terrordrome just for Mindbender to hang up his hat, just for a stun to kind of patrol around. Like it's
Yep.
just a centerpiece for the
You can
Cobra
hang your
army.
claw.
It keeps them from being this kind of nomadic entity.
Mm. Hey, speaking of, sorry, like in the little jail cell, you didn't find any nice surprises in there, hey? No, like
Ooh.
I
accessories.
partially disassembled the Terrordrome in the hopes that I would, and no surprises.
Extras, little bits.
Why did you get some extras, Paul?
No, I didn't. I just, because you're lucky with that kind of thing, finding radars in your, in the little cannon there. I keep wanting to call it the Persuader, but it's not. I don't know why I can't remember.
I
it
keep
really
wanting
well.
to find Ice Viper size inside Cobra Wolves,
Cobra Wolves. Yeah, there you go.
but no dice. I think I found I found one of my childhood ones in my Cobra Wolf, and since then I've kind of had the burn on to get that. And also like people who find what's the name, heavy metal microphones inside old beat up Mauler shells. That's also like a total fanboy wet dream. Worms antenna inside the maggot. But no, I've picked
cool that
over
you got
the
a worms now as
carcass. I always had a worms, which prompts me to
Oh.
wonder how I'm going to divvy up this stuff. I don't
Ain't
know.
gonna lie, I would love a backup Mindbender. Just saying.
Wow.
Pistols at dawn.
But
Wow,
Okay,
Paul! Look, here's the thing. Without actually ever getting a Mindbender on purpose, I think I have about 4. So one of them is definitely yours, pal.
thank you, man, because I'm just so
But
scared of
only
breaking
one
that
of them.
figure, and he's very special to me because of the play motions and doing his voice and stuff. He's become a very special character for me in a lot of ways. So
But
that's a
would
cool thing.
another Mindbender that wasn't involved in the play motions, would that not just go
Spark
into a
the
draw?
fire within you.
Well,
No, but this
I
is my issue
actually
with like having duplicates of named characters. Like
it's just my
you've
backup
got one
in case I
that's
break his thumbs or
pristine.
something. Yeah,
I
that's my
suppose.
thing. Also,
Paul, you've always
a,
got backups, man. Like
yeah,
I
but
got
I'm
you,
like
buddy.
that. I like redundancies. I actually did get a second Mindbender once upon a time, which I handed over to Rob. So
Absolutely crazy.
So Rob, you got a Mindbender? Good, that's coming off the list.
Well, I
I
only
have a
one.
list
You
of
know,
duplicates for both of you.
backup. You know, I need a backup for my drawer. You know, the bag where I put all my Joes in. Well, this has been great seeing this collection. It's just definitely, I mean, made us all very reminisce about the past and say thanks for the memories.
I love how you're a magnet for this stuff as well, Steve. It's awesome. It's cool how
It's
like
wild.
I don't know if
He's looking. That's the thing, and he's in the first world. You know, like we're sitting here in Africa. Like there's not even any point in looking for this stuff.
No,
Kim
that's
was
not
quick.
true.
Kim was
I
quick
actually
to
missed out on
point
a.
out.
Oh, sorry. I
Yes,
just
I
I
will
missed out
then.
on a very nice minty muskrat. 93 or 90. Yeah, it's a 93 muskrat.
There's the thing. 93. It's
I
one
missed
figure
out on
from
one
the
of
90s.
those.
You're not going to
Yeah,
find
but it's something I'm looking
the
for.
Terrordromes in Africa and a bunch of other vehicles and bases and whatever else.
You know,
that's true.
Kim said exactly the same thing.
I thought
She
she
said,
would.
like, yeah, you're not going to find a Terrordrome in South Africa. To which,
Well,
do you know what
thank
my
you, Kim.
response to her was? Do you know what my
Challenge
response to her
accepted.
was?
No, I don't.
No.
You're right, Kim. My dear
I know
wife.
exactly where to find a Terrordrome in South Africa. It's at my friend's house. Idiot. I have friends back home, okay?
You have these
Ooh.
things.
I got
No,
friends,
I'm kidding.
Kim. What do you got? Family?
I've got friends here too.
Come with me,
It just
Elliot. We
occurs-
play with toys.
It occurs to me that me and my drinking buddies this side of the pond could probably start another GI related podcast, rival to GI Joburg. But we better come up with a snappy Aussie centric name. Matt, I'm asking you, pal. Alan, this one's for you. Zazel, boys. Yeah. Give me a title. Give me a
What is
podcast
the, what is the
name.
name of someone who's left their country behind? Their
Traitor.
A piece of shit.
no, like we're doing oh, you could call yourselves the immigrants. How about that? That's
Christ.
cool.
Well, no, the two Aussies in the group, a
Ex-Africans.
Kiwi and a South African.
Oh shit. Okay.
So we, they're two
GI Joe.
true blue
Bondi.
Australians here.
We could go for the
No,
for
I was
the
gonna
for the
say
Bondi.
Joe's
Berg.
Down Under. I mean that's pretty easy. I mean, come on.
Oh, I was gonna say, in previous Renegades episode with Major Blood and his debut, okay, his accent was all over the place. It was very, very hammy.
That was an American.
Not terrific Australian accent. But then again, which of us can do an authentic
This is
Australian
true.
accent?
I'm pretty
it's
sure I'm
mythical.
very good at mine.
But he did use a phrase which is actually an Aussie thing, in the same sense that, like in Africa, we have Ubuntu. It's like just a phrase that we all know because it's kind of thrown in our faces in a way. Like this is a concept, a very sort of the Africanness of it is very
Africanity,
evident
the
to us.
African philosophy, yeah.
Mm.
Not
But in
Hakuna
Australia,
Matata. Just saying.
there is
Sorry.
a phrase called a fair go, which basically is a kind of it's an equality thing. Like everyone deserves a fair go. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the actual phrasing in the Constitution, but I've seen it written at length. This is the thing.
So we
There
have
you go.
this human life is enshrined. It's the best. It's cool. We have to protect life and everyone's rights to do things. And then Australia's just like, everyone's got a fair go. The
Well-
end. Constitution, Australia.
Hilarious.
Fair
There
go.
you go. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Bondi.
you're hilarious, Rob. But basically, I just want to make light of the fact that the script was smart enough to work that into Blood's character, because at one point, I think Snake Eyes draws his sword and Blood pulls out his also blade, like long blade, and said, "Yeah, come on, I'll give you a fair go."
Yeah,
Which
that is kind of cool.
is smart.
I mean,
Hmm.
well, it's they've paid attention. Someone that was writing that episode or someone involved in production somewhere heard that as a phrase from Australia, and it's cool that they did incorporate that. Smart.
To cap this off, something that occurred to me while reflecting on this Terrordrome story is like, I'm so glad I didn't go to that toy show in Sydney, because I would have been obligated to like buy something.
Yeah.
And I'd feel remorseful because,
Missed it on this big
$170 US on a Terrordrome, it's not an inconsiderable amount of money, but it's something that I really, really wanted.
store. Considerably less than
And it
getting a
comes
fresh
with a
one.
ton of other stuff too. I mean, I think this is definitely
Stun,
worth
dude.
what you paid for it. you
And
know?
the best part of all, no postage,
Hell yeah,
no shipping.
Yeah, you just have to fetch it.
just raced over there.
20 minutes
That is
down the
pretty cool.
road. Are you kidding me? Okay.
I mean, Steve.
Step off
Steve
cloud
had
nine,
this.
Steve-O.
Steve had this
Steve
on
out.
the YouTubes. This video was posted where
Wow.
Steve received the score, and was talking about it and everything, and
Mhm.
it was very good viewing for me. Thank you very much on that one. I shot him a message like sort of halfway through, and then afterwards. But
Incredible video, Steve.
I was super excited. No, incredible score, dude. Jesus. But anyway, I was excited for you when I saw you got a maggot, because I looked at the sheet and I was like, those are really great figures to get. Like, oh my word, an IG, Mindbender. And then I saw the maggot and I was like, whoa, that's so awesome. Because, for me, I've never seen one. I actually keep forgetting that you have one. And then I was like, yay, cool, Steve's got a maggot. So that's awesome. And he's got a whole bunch of extra accessories. Cool. And
To
then
be
the stun,
fair
I
on
was
you,
like,
Paul, the maggot has never come back with me to South Africa. I got it
It's
in
just been
Manila,
sitting there.
and
Yeah, you can see
it
the
came
other
with
one in the
jaws.
picture there.
okay. Well, yeah, and then like I saw that and I was like excited for you, and then you got the stun and I was like, son of a bitch, he's got another stun.
Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
which apparently has it's a European release. So the flag is
Ooh.
very much more tolerable. Like it can flex.
Sturdy.
Because I have original stun flags courtesy of MCDJ CDC, and I took them out the other day to try and like see if I could maybe fashion a fix because they're broken. They are originals, and it's like a twig. Just handling them, it snapped like a twig.
Oh, it's
Shit.
wild.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Bad
as they're
QC.
going along, even they were learning, to
Mm.
produce better toys. That could
Yeah.
kind of. I mean, yeah.
Well, thanks to Ronald Hoff for pointing out that, yeah, the factory in Ireland that produced the European stuns had that better plastic. So clearly, yeah, they were making decisions moving forward, even in a pre-internet age, like without getting
Yeah.
feedback from the public. They knew that they had made a serious error in that material and made a correction.
It's wild.
Well, that's old Hasbro was cool. And
Right.
And
Well, this has been a cool episode. I don't know if we
This
just
has
stick
been
with
a
the
very
title Tanks for the Memories, Rob.
Well,
thanks
I mean,
for the toys.
thanks for the toys or something. I don't know. I mean, like it's definitely an erroneously named episode.
Just to put everyone out of their misery, we were going to review Tanks for the Memories in this episode, which is issue number
Issue
5 of GI Joe. A-Rah deals with the Mobat, but that
we
would
just
be
got
a
so
cool...
filled with hate, and whatever else for Arashikage, and we were very excited about TTBP possibly coming with the Dragonfly. So, well, why am I telling you guys this? You've listened to it. You heard us talking about it.
Unless you're
so
the kind
next
of person who
time-
jumps in right at the end. I don't know.
Could be.
Weird.
Well, the next episode can be tanks for more memories. More tanks for the memories.
More thanks for the memories.
Quit
Tanks
while
for
you're
the
behind.
memories 2 sequel.
Look at the majesty of this toy. Look at
It
him.
is
He's just
beautiful. I'm so happy you finally have him.
it's just
Fisherman Bazooka for anyone listening. Paul is showing
Yo.
us his Fisherman Bazooka
He's
with
absolutely
a green
Just us-
gun.
And
I love that gun.
Right? I mean, what about a fishing rod? Don't you have a fishing rod for him?
He doesn't have he goes he fishes with bombs, man. He doesn't use
Oh,
fishing
I can
rods.
see the grenade on his arm there. Okay, I get
Yeah,
it.
he's busy like I've if the circle's now complete, I've you guys know what I want to do with this guy, so yeah.
I'm looking forward
Stay
to it.
tuned.
And I'm looking forward to the next episode, which is brought to us by our amazing patrons. What a cool group of people. Supporting
You
us every
sexy
week,
people.
every month. Just keeping us going, keeping the lights on, despite ESCOM's best efforts to turn them off. Amazing. Like I'm always flabbergasted and amazed that people are so happy to kind of like give a little bit of themselves to kind of like help us, kind of keep going and
Keep the lights on, especially now that the exchange rate is what
the
it is.
exchange rate is so like it
Crazy.
just really makes it. Every dollar that you give to us goes even further now because of the exchange rate. So
well, yeah. Sort of.
exactly.
Because it's a thing.
Well,
but at the end of the day, the support is very welcome. It helps keeps the lights on. It
it's
helps
appreciated.
keep StreamYard going. It does a lot of
pays the
wonderful things for us.
And we're
Also,
very
thank you
happy.
to the guy who bought some Storm Shadow gear off our
hell yeah.
spring. Or spring.
Well, it occurs
No,
to me
that-
that people are going to Joe Fest this next weekend, and they
Yes.
are rocking some merch. Because why wouldn't you? If you are
You
a
have
member of the
to.
Berg Force or GI Joburg Die
Why wouldn't you
Hard,
show it off?
exactly, and they're
GI Joe inspired
pretty
art.
cool designs, guys. If I do say so
For
myself,
sure.
and I will say so myself because I had nothing to do with them. That would be Mr. Paul Luke.
Well, ahead of
Deadly
JoeCon,
Pencil.
I hope everyone has a great time at JoeCon. And I hope to see tons of awesome news and awesome pictures and everything
Walkthroughs.
else. Have a great time at JoeCon. Have a great time being around other GI Joe fans. It's an amazing experience.
It's a vibe, as the kids say.
Enjoy it. Have a good time.
And spare a thought for our buddy Sergeant Slaughterhouse, Zazel Phoenix, who managed
He's there?
to get there. He's there.
Yes.
He's hanging out. He's hanging out. Guys, like, I am needing to be pinched. out of my reverie for him. Because imagine having a childhood friend, idol, someone who you followed in wrestling and in action figure form, dressed up as someone you totally just worship the ground that their cartoon feet fell on. Flash forward to being an adult and starting your own channel to honor and to pay tribute to that person, and then you actually get to meet them. Not
Yeah,
only
have
that,
On like a friendly
conversations.
basis. Yeah.
stay at their house, have barbecues with it. Like Zazel is, I don't know, man. It's probably the feel good
His
story
dreams have
of
come
the
true.
year.
It's amazing.
It is
I'm very
wonderful.
happy for him.
Fuck the dragonfly.
Yeah, Hazel's the real story of June 2023.
And that is perhaps the best note to leave episode 182. Title forthcoming. Maybe that's the name of this episode.
Oh, I like that.
Love you guys. Thank you for hanging
Love
out
you
with me
too.
once again on this successful mission.
Awesome. Yo, Joe.
Berg.
Berg. Berg.